Should start recording any minute. Okay, so if you have any questions, again, please don't be shy. Send, don't raise your hand, just literally shout out at us so that we can then follow that for you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you and I'm going to take you through which stage I am at. So who am I at that point in time? Okay, can everyone see my screen? Okay, yeah. So there are two tiles here. There are two tiles here. I'm just going to quickly jump back into the home page. So you have two processes. One is the selector process, which is the application that you'd like to initiate, and the other one, which we call the action center. So the action center is where we use this platform to monitor. Where are my current credit applications? What reports can I extract? That is what the action center is for. And the selector process is the type of workflow I would like to choose. I'm going to start with the workflow and I'll come back to the action center in a moment. So you have two different options. The first one is your credit application and the other is the sales vetting option. So what is sales vetting? So this is if I am driving on the road and I see a customer that I think could potentially be someone I'd like to do business with, and I want to go and check and see, is there anything that Inoxico says, don't do business with this customer, or don't do business with this customer on credit? Doesn't mean not at all. And is there anything negative that I should know before I even phone them to say, hello, Mr. Customer, if you're in a liquidation application, chances of me, signing you up is not going to be very high, so I don't want to waste your time. So that's what the sales pre-vetting section is for. It doesn't go anywhere. It's really just for you as a salesperson to pre-check before you pick up the phone. Any questions around what sales pre-vetting is? We can have a quick look at it. So what happens is I can drive past the street and I can see a company that I want to do business with. I don't know their registration number. I just know their name because I saw it while I was on the highway. And so I come to the system and I type in the name. So what it's going to do is it goes through the Inoxico database and it looks at absolutely everything that has the name Penn in it. So it might take a minute. I chose a very generalized option. Apologies for that. Yes.
Can I make a suggestion? Can I ask the sales team? They after this call, they're going to be doing some calling, and I want to task each of them to put one company name on the chat here quickly that they're going to be calling later, and maybe you can use that as an example of the pre-vetting.
Sure. Absolutely, no problem. And we'll do that in the live environment. So at the moment, I'm in the test environment, but we can do it in my live environment. So yes, with pleasure. Okay, so I go ahead and I look for the company. I see, okay, this is the company I want to do business with. I can see straight off the bat, and this is something that I know sales teams are not usually exposed to, but a company is either in business or they are not in business. So you don't have to worry about all the different potential statuses. The most important for you is they're either in business or they're not in business. And this helps you to also understand whether or not they would be rejected or why they would be rejected for credit when it gets to your credit team. So like I said, you don't have to know the different statuses, but you just have to know they either are in business or they are not in business. And if they are not in business, the chances of being approved for credit are very low. It's not a matter of not doing business. It's just not doing business on credit. Does that make sense to everyone? I'll take silence as a yes. Okay, so all this does is it shows me this is the company that I'm wanting to do business with. Is there anything that Inoxico says don't do business with them because they have lots of court notices or they're not in a business status or whatever the case is? And so I know how to do business. So if they're not in a valid business status, I know it is still company policy to engage, but then you know that your conversation is going to be around COD and you know that straight from the beginning. Okay. So that's a really nice way for you to have that conversation, and you can therefore start, and it just sends you a lead. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do anything. It just sends you a lead to say, you've gone and checked this customer. You like them. Great. Everything looks fantastic. That's it. That's sales pre-vetting. Okay. And it's going to send you an email. If I now have engaged with the customer and I like this customer, everything looks good for this customer. I've got to meet with them. I've had a conversation. I have done all the things I would normally do when I am engaging with a customer. And now I want to send you a credit application. So instead of sliding a piece of paper over to you or popping you an email, I come to the Inoxico system and I say, I would like to do business with this customer named Ben. Okay. Again, you don't have to fill in all the information. You can either, if you have it, search by the registration number. It will make the search a little bit easier for you. If you don't have it, you can search via the name, or if it's a sole proprietor, via their ID number. Any questions so far? If for some reason you cannot find this company in our database, we are directly linked to CIPC. So any registered business we will have on our system. But for some reason, if there is no one, you can add in those details afterwards. So it says can't find pen, add it now. If you can find them, all it's going to do is it's going to pre-populate the information that the company has. So this is their registered address, their registered number, their, all the information that we have on our side. You can add in a website if you have that. And then you fill in the details of the person that you have engaged with at the customer. So who's going to fill in your credit application? That's what goes over here. And then I click next. Now, again, this is your standard policy to discuss it with the customer. Hello, Mr. Customer. What kind of terms are we going to give you? Is it 7 days, 30 days, or no terms at all? Because we know that you are not in business. And so we're going to do COD. If we're going to do 30 days, how much are we talking about? Are we talking about 100,000? Are we talking about 10,000? What have you discussed? And this should be your normal process. Are there any questions on this? Don't worry about the red warning. It's just telling you how you would calculate a credit application amount, credit limit.
I mean, I think just for the sake of our sales team, we prefer to work on a 30-day environment. As preferred. So okay. It'll be very seldom. It'll only be by authorization of management that will go 7 days or anything else. Okay. Preferred method is 30-day account. Yeah.
Okay, so I can take those 7 days away.
I think it might be better to do that. We can then discuss how we can go about changing those terms if necessary.
Okay, perfect. No problem. So then as a salesperson, I have already engaged with my customer. I know this is what I want. You can do this also from your phone, from your tablet, from your computer. It is mobile happy. So you don't have to worry about if you want to do this while you're at the customer, you can do that as well. So all options are available. But now as a salesperson, I have completed my request. So you have now done your share of the business. Let's put it that way. Up until a point, but you have initiated, and what happens now is it goes through to be checked to see, just like you saw those knockout rules, someone is going to receive an email in your business. I think it is Sadie who receives an email to say, go ahead and check that everything is good in terms of before you go ahead and do a full research report. And we look again, has it undergone pre-vetting? So there you can see we did do it because we did it just before. Are there any valid business status, court notices, anything negative that Inoxico knows? If Sadie sees something she doesn't like and she wants to change them to COD, she can do that now because she sees that there is something on here that is going to cause the customer to be rejected at the end of the day. Or, I mean, I know you don't ever reject, but it's going to be changed to COD. So let's start that process before the customer's even filled anything in. But if everything looks good, she can then submit the application and it is going to go through to your customer. So the stage that you just saw now is what we call the knockout, so risk knockout. So when you are looking at your action center, and if you see someone under the knockout stage, the initial risk check, it's called initial risk check, that is the stage that it is at. So there you'll see what that means. Any questions so far? All good, all making sense. So now that it is passed through to the initial knockout rules, you'll see that they are going to receive an application email. So this is your customer now. So hello, Mr. Customer, you want to do business with me. Everything is labeled with your details and all they have to do is click on the link. Okay, so I click on the link and now I am the customer. So just so you know which role I'm playing. So I am now Amy Price, the customer from pen, pineapple, apple, pen properties. It's quite the alliteration. And I've made it nice and quick for my customers. They don't have to fill this in. Can you imagine this is your actual name and you have to physically write this out every 5 minutes? So it just says, is this your legal entity? Is this your registered CIPC registration number? And then are you based in South Africa? All I have to do is say, yes, that is me. Then we have a POPI consent, and this is a mandatory field always. We have a link to the Seabourne privacy statement. So if they click on this, it's going to take them directly to your website and your privacy policy around POPI, okay? As well as the Inoxico one, so that they can make sure that they have all the information around POPI and the information around consent. But like I said, this is mandatory. And the reason I'm showing you this is because if your customer gets stuck here, the reason we make it mandatory is if they do not provide you with consent, then your company has no standing to say we even want to do a credit check on you. So any questions around the consent? All good. Okay. Then we have the credit amount. So is this the amount that was discussed with my salesperson? Yes. And here are my standard terms. Is that correct? Yes. Excellent. Now, it goes ahead and looks in the background and says, what are the requirements based on the value that our credit policy, as in Seabourne's credit policy, says, if the amount is what we would deem as small, what do I need to know from the customer? Do I need banking information? Do I need financials? Do I just want to know what is their estimated turnover? Now, because I chose a small amount, or what we deem to be a small amount, it's just going to ask me for an estimated turnover that the customer needs to fill in. Any questions on what that turnover is about? Because remember, the reason I'm taking you through this is the customer always comes to you with the questions, which I'm sure you know. You don't need me to tell you. And so that's why we're going through this. So the reason we ask for estimated turnover is this helps for 2 reasons. First of all, if somebody's turnover is over a certain amount, and you are a different type of business and how your business is structured, you may need to add in additional questions. And also Inoxico helps with giving recommendations. So if you have a higher turnover, we take that into consideration when we are recommending right at the end.
And if the customer does not want to complete that, is this a must that he must do this?
So we can change it to be either a mandatory field or a voluntary field, and that's up to Seabourne on how they want to do it. So it can be, up to you guys. What else we would add in, for example, the same with bank statements. And again, I'm sure you get asked this question. If you do ask for bank statements, the reason for that is 2 reasons. One is Inoxico is able to provide you with a view of affordability. So that's why we ask for bank statements sometimes, to see, can this customer actually afford the limit that they've asked me for? They're asking me for R1 million. I want to know, can they actually afford R1 million? And the second reason that we ask for bank statements, we ask for always the latest 3 months, is that should someone be trying to commit fraud, and I'm not saying it's always the case, if you want to commit fraud and you have every means at your disposal, you can do so. But ideally, if you are wanting to commit fraud, you may have bank statements, but they will not be the latest 3 months. So you might have January, February, and March, but you won't have July, August, and September. So it's also a fraud prevention. So just if that question ever comes up as to why, those are the reasons. But this we'll discuss with your team and see, is this going to be a mandatory field or is this going to be a voluntary field? And the truth is, if we make it a mandatory field and the customer does not feel comfortable and they come back to you as a salesperson and say, I don't want to tell you for whatever reason, they can put 0 and it will then not stop them. Any other questions on that? Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. What is nice about this and why I kind of like making something a mandatory field is that it also gets the option of the customer to come back to you and say, I don't feel comfortable with this. And you can go back to business and say, is this going to be a problem for us? Like if we're making a decision and we're making a financial decision, is this going to impact how we do business with this client? Do I need permission to speak to my branch manager, give Claude a call and say, what should I do in this case? Yes, there is a workaround, but is that the right thing to do? And I usually, from a salesperson's perspective, like to look at it like this, to say, if a customer doesn't want to provide me with financials, if I were to put the shoe on the other foot and be a little bit cheeky and say, well, if you went to the bank and you asked the bank for R1 million so that you can come and buy my stock cash, then what is the bank going to ask you for? Are they going to ask you for financials? Absolutely. They're probably going to ask you for financials, property information, blood samples, and some family as collateral. So, we're giving you exactly the same thing that a bank would give you. So from a salesperson's perspective, it's good to know and be armed with that kind of information. Like, we're asking for credit, but what does that actually mean? It means I'm giving you stock on consignment in the hopes that you're going to pay me, but I need to know that you can actually afford to pay me. Does that make sense? And help with a little bit of understanding, but don't be as cheeky as me. I'm not in sales, so don't tell the customer to go to the bank and go get the money and come and buy your stock in cash. It's just a matter of understanding. Okay, so here we also have some additional questions, and this should be as it is on your paper-based application. So it should not scare the customer in terms of, do you have a VAT certificate? If they don't have a VAT certificate, obviously they will not be forced to upload one. And do you require a custom 7-day VAT duty and duty account? So if they say yes, it's going to ask them for their code. And if they say no, it's not going to ask them for anything. And again, this would be on your paper-based application exactly the same. The only difference is that if they say no, it's not going to ask for anything. Okay. Then you have an import and export.
Amy, sorry, just to clarify for the team's sake, that if the customer does indicate no, they can still request a custom 7-day VAT and duty account at a later stage, but it's just obviously it just makes it easier to have it part of the initial application.
Perfect. Okay, then you ask for an import and export document. So again, this is a permit. They should be providing you with this either way. It's just a matter of, instead of printing it for you, they can now upload it into the system. Okay. Then we have a request for invoices. So please provide us with an email address of where your company is going to send invoices. So I think that's quite important. And then whether or not the customer does require a purchase order or not, so they can say yes or no. And this is obviously, yes.
I mean, sorry, just to get back, do they have to submit their import-export code, even though they're just going to do domestics with us and not internationals?
So it's not a mandatory field right now. So
okay.
It's not a mandatory field, and you can see it says if applicable.
Oh, okay, sorry, thanks.
No problem. And how you know if something is a mandatory field, it will either have a little asterisk next to it. Let me just scroll down and tell you if anything. So here, for example, you have a rates document, and that is a mandatory field. You can see there's a little star over there. So if the customer does not complete it, they will not be able to move forward. But where they do not have a mandatory field, so here is a mandatory field and there is a mandatory field, but nowhere else is a mandatory field, they would then not be able to move forward.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, and then we get to, you have a POPI consent form, and this is still part of your current process. So if they click on it, it downloads your current POPI consent form, which is exactly the same way that it looks currently. So the customer can view all the details with regards to that. They can fill in the specific details of the POPI consent form. It is exactly how it is now on your paper-based application. Okay, so they can print it or digitally sign it. If they use DocuSign or one of those Foxit Reader, they can add in any of that information. And then they can reattach it into the system. So they save it and they add it back into the system. Okay, and then you have your freight guard document as well. So it works exactly the same way. They can download it. They can read all your information as it is currently right now. They can fill in the details. I'm sure you help them with this as well, that they need. Again, they can save it and upload it back into the system. Any questions so far on what that is?
Claude? Claude,
yes.
the form that is on the system is the basic form.
Yeah.
So we had a discussion the other day about the wine form.
Yeah.
And I think that Jacques would then provide that to them separately.
Yeah. So
they
I
can
think,
submit a blank one and then email us the wine one.
yeah, I think we actually, yeah, they would just need to have a separate document that would be emailed to them. Yeah, correct.
Okay. Or you can send it to me and we can add it in over here, and then the customer can choose which one they're going to do. So you can say it's either going to be this document or it's going to be the wine document. You can have it here as well.
Yeah, I think we just keep it as is, Amy, and then yeah, we'll just, for the wine clients, we'll just have them complete a separate document.
Perfect. And then once that, if that is the case, I'll show you, Sadie, where you can add that additional document. So once it comes after this process. Okay, so that it will always be attached. Okay, so any questions from the sales team? Does this seem like it is difficult? Is this where your customers are getting stuck so far? Now that you're experiencing it in the same way that your customers experiencing it, do you see anything that is different to that of your paper-based application, other than using technology, of course?
What's that?
But good. Okay, and then you have your rates document. Again, this is a document that you would currently request from your customer. They would need to then have that filled in and upload it. We request 3 trade references from your client. I think only 1 is mandatory. So if they only have 1, that's also fine. But if they do not complete the rest, then they do not have to fill it in.
No,
okay.
3, Amy. 3.
3 are 3. Oh, yes, sorry. 3 are mandatory. I can see it. When I deleted my things here, it did say that they are mandatory. Bob and Bob's number, Bob's email address. I'm just filling in some information here.
Amy, can you just scroll back just a tad? Just want to see if it does indicate that we need at least 3.
So it doesn't say, but we can add in a comment if you'd like to say we require a minimum of 3.
Yeah, if you could, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Where they would see that you require a minimum of 3 is when they don't fill in 3 and they try to proceed at the end. I'll show you now. It is going to highlight that they didn't fill it in. So like, for example, here, I haven't filled this in. But because I've already done 3, it's not giving me a problem. But you can see that 4 and 5 are not filled in and it's not causing an issue.
And in the case of a client being sort of newish and doesn't have any trade references, so he wants to open a COD account, now he can't proceed because he doesn't have trade references.
So again, it comes down to your decision. Yes, continue.
Yeah, sorry, Amy. I think, Leon, in that sense, we would it would first need to go through an approval process from management anyway, and we'd probably then go through a manual process for that.
Okay.
I think the Inoxico platform makes the most sense when we're actually doing credit vetting, and it's going to be a 30-day account. I don't see the value in it for anything less than that. So I think we'll handle that separately.
And if the customer does, I mean, this is something that Seabourne can discuss with us. If you'd like us to configure a COD workflow, so you would tell us, if somebody wants to do business with us on COD, this is the information that we would ask them. So it would be different to that of someone who is asking for credit. And we can then configure that separately. So you would then choose the COD workflow and know that the customer questions will be different.
All right, thank you. I think we're gonna stay away from that for now.
Perfect, but it is an option.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we have we'll add in a note to say that we need a minimum of 3 trade references. Again, if the customer doesn't have a third one, they can say not applicable. They can tell us that they don't have one, or don't have whatever it is. So they'll fill that in that section. And again, if they come back to you and say, I don't have 3 trade references, because you're my point of contact at Seabourne, you can then also say to them, just fill in NA or don't have, so that they can at least move forward. Okay. And then we also have a trade reference consent letter. This is something that you currently are asking your customer for. Again, they can download it, they can digitally sign it or wet sign it and put it back into the system. So that is a document you are currently asking them for. Is that correct?
Correct. I just want to check, does anybody on the sales team not understand what that is for? Does everybody know? Maybe just for the sake of Sinette, who's new, just a quick explanation. So that letter is basically just, it's a sample letter that the client will then complete as though it is a letter from them. Well, it will be, but giving Seabourne permission to request trade references on their behalf. So they're saying, Seabourne Logistics, we are giving you permission to request trade references on our behalf so that we are able to determine their credit worthiness through that. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Perfect.
great.
And this
Thank
is what
you.
it looks like. So you can see it does say sample at the back so that they can fill in their company details and tell us exactly who they are and the date and all that information. So they are able to edit this document. It just gives them a guideline.
Okay. Well, awesome. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Sorry, Amy.
Yes.
Do you have customers where they put this on digitally, where they give their consent digitally?
So they can. It is part of the consent that we have. You know, there was that little tick box right at the beginning of the conversation. So we can add it in there as a, you know, just some information. I'm going to go scroll back up to that, which is around POPI consent. So we can add it in here under these details. So it's just part of the tick box. But if Seabourne would still like it to be a separate document, that's completely up to you.
I need to send it sometimes.
Yeah.
So it
So-
can't be an in. It can't
Oh,
be
so you
included.
need to send it to the. Okay.
That was going to be my question now. So thanks for mentioning that, Sadie. Amy, is there a way that Inoxico can have a printable letter indicating that this client, the customer, has given consent digitally to request trade references, so that Sadie can then print that out or email the PDF version of it to any customers that say, well, look, I'm happy to give you a trade reference, but please provide proof that they've given consent.
Absolutely. So
They want it on a letterhead, Claude.
I think Sadie, I think I understand what you're saying, Sadie, and understand that you know, let's maybe go this route, and if we find that 99% of the clients are coming back and saying, look, I'm not going to accept this letter from Inoxico, then obviously we can have a look at relooking it. But I think the issue that we're having here, and I'm glad that you actually raised that, Rian, is that the credit application process does seem to be quite laborious, and we're obviously trying to make it as streamlined as possible. At the same time, obviously covering everything we need to cover, but we do want to make it as streamlined as possible, so that we have, because we do unfortunately have a lot of customers that are coming across saying, look, you know, your credit application process is very cumbersome, and you know, it's taking too long to get to it. So I think we just want to try and do what we can, obviously making sure, as I say, that we cover everything we need to cover, but that we can maybe have as a separate discussion.
Okay,
Yes,
sorry,
absolutely.
sorry, please, before you go on, I'm sorry about this, Claude.
yes.
When we, you know, the mock-up that is available for them, we have had clients who've just filled in their names, you know, filled in their details.
Yeah.
And when I've sent it on, I've been refused. So
Okay.
yeah.
We can have a separate discussion, Sadie, because I think, you know, I just want to find out from Inoxico what that letter will look like, and if it's digitally authorized by the customer, I think that might hold more worth for a lot of clients than a kind of the sample, you know, thing that they've just signed, and you know, that's why probably it looks you know, a lot less legitimate than something that actually is created digitally. There's a digital stamp on it or something.
So I'm going to show you where this consent that Inoxico has built in does pull through as a separate link, which can be saved by the customer. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if you do want to add it in to this area over here to say that we're giving consent around POPI, as well as, you know, to contact our trade references, we can add in the, you know, the legal parameters here. And you can also ask your legal team, is this sufficient, to say, like, if the customer has, you know, provided this consent, are we happy with that? But Inoxico literally follows everything that you tell us to do. There's lots of ways we can help you to streamline the process. These are, like I said, based on your paper-based application. So if your customer was doing it manually, they would have had to do this manually either way. But we can tweak it. You tell us, we can set up other workshops to say, how can we make this easier? Do we need a separate POPI consent form over and above the Inoxico POPI tick box? Yes or no? What else can we do? A rates form is something we're always going to need. They have to upload that. Obviously, we can take away the further 2 trade references that are not mandatory, or we can leave them there because they're not mandatory, so if they don't fill them in. So there are some things we can do, but again, this is still following your current credit policy of these are the things that your company decides. Inoxico does not dictate that. We just follow what's on your current application. Does that make sense?
Yeah, happy with that. Thank you.
Okay, so if all looks good and I filled in all the information that I'm supposed to fill in, I click next. Now it comes to your terms and conditions. So the customer can view the terms and conditions. So these are your current terms and conditions as they are on your paper-based application. If there is a term that they do not like, they can request to have a discussion with your team. So this will go through to Sadie to say, I don't like term number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Sadie and the customer can then discuss whether or not this is a negotiable term or whether or not they have to either accept it as it is and move forward. So they can this takes place offline. If you see that somebody has disputed the terms inside your action center, you will see it says legal disputes. So as a salesperson, if you see legal disputes, you know that the conversation is taking place between your customer and Sadie to say that they are negotiating those terms and conditions. Once they have done that, they will agree or disagree, depending on what happens after that. On your terms and conditions, they can upload the edited version, so where they've taken out clause 1.2, and they can therefore go ahead and move forward with the application. Any questions on what that is about?
Amy, am I getting that alert, or does that alert go to Rian?
So we can talk about that at the moment. It's you, but we've only just added Rian onto the system. So it can go to both of you, and it can go to, either or. You can decide on that if you wanted to go to both.
We've only had one, so I'm not sure how we got the alert in the end.
Okay, so it normally comes in an email format. So if you and Rian are going to be in that team, that's what we call it, in that team. Once somebody does dispute it, both yourself and Rian are going to receive an email to say that this customer has disputed your terms and conditions.
Yeah, both is good.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to add Rian to that legal team. Perfect. Okay. Just for the sake of training, I'm just going to say we love your terms and conditions. We're not disputing anything. And I, as the customer, am going to click next. Now we get to a section that says, am I authorized to sign on behalf of the customer? Okay, so let's say, for example, I'm the one who's been engaging with you, Mr. Salesperson. I am Amy, but actually I'm only the PA, and I don't have authority to sign. So what happens now? So what happens, I can reassign this application at any point in time to multiple different people. So if I have different divisions and this person's going to fill in the rates form and this person's going to fill in the financials, I can go ahead and reassign it at any point in time to anyone. So if I am not the director, I can go ahead and now reassign it. Everything I have filled in up until now is saved. I'm not going to have to do it again. Okay. Alternatively,
Amy,
yes.
Sorry, just
Yes.
a quick question on that.
Yes.
Hypothetical scenario, it's the financial manager that is completing the credit application, gets to the end, and now
Yes.
assigns it to 2 directors simultaneously because, whoever can get to it first kind of thing. If one of them does now approve, does the link is the link then not available for the second director to approve, or can he still also, the second director also still approve?
At the moment, it's only designed that it can be sent to one person at a time.
Okay.
So if I know that I'm going to send it to John Doe, then only John Doe is going to have access to it. And the reason for that is it works on a very similar process to that of banking with an OTP number. So only one person can receive that.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we do have options. So for example, if I am not a director, immediately Inoxico populates the information as per CIPC. So who are the registered directors? But we also understand that not always does a director need to sign. Sometimes there are other people in the business who have authority to sign. They can choose other. They can tell us who they are. So that's me, Amy Price. Whoopsie daisies, I should spell that nicely. And it's now going to ask me for a copy of my ID and a board resolution to show me Amy Price has authority to sign on behalf of the customer. So that's what that is about, and a copy of my ID. Now what happens is you can see it sends a OTP. And as you can see, Claude, that was part of my question, was who gets that OTP? And part of a fraud prevention check, we would see, is this person and this person the same person?
Sorry, Amy, I don't know if I missed it. So
Yes.
once they ask the question, are you authorized to sign, and you say no, does it automatically redirect you to reassign it, or do they got to scroll up and reassign it themselves?
So at the moment, we actually are working on a development to say exactly that. If you say yes or no, it will take you back to the reassign button. But for right now, until that is live, which will hopefully be soon, they do need to scroll up. So that as a salesperson, it's important for you to know that.
So you got to advise them to then scroll up and reassign it to the correct person, because when they're completing it and they say no, so nowhere does it redirect them to reassign.
Correct. There are other options. So if they come to you and say, I don't know how to reassign, I'm not sure why, but you never know. Someone says, I don't know how to do it. You can always pop an email through to the support center at Inoxico and say, can you please reassign my application? And Inoxico will be able to then go ahead and say, we have a button here that says reassign, that we can do it for you as well. So I'll see if I can show you what that looks like from my side. So this is obviously an Inoxico person. If you send us an email to the support mailbox, then you can say, please, can you reassign my application? You'll see we have that ability. I'm going to show you what it looks like now. Let's just find someone who's still with a customer. Just looking at the quick links over here to see which one is still with the customer.
Yeah, just go there, Amy. It will show you request to complete.
Amy, just
apply,
sorry.
and then your system's bringing up everything, Amy, it looks like.
No, it is. It's bringing up everything.
Just while you're busy there, Amy,
yes.
I just noticed that there are some pending applications there, or overdue applications, that we've already opened the accounts, obviously on a manual basis. Mm-hmm. So it might be an idea, somebody on your side, just to work with Sadie to go through those and just close all of those that have been opened on our side.
Yes, we will do. Yes, I can see that so you can see here it says final approval level 1 or final approval level 2, which does mean that it is sitting internally, and we will help Sadie to get these approved and then move to completed. No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know why it's okay. So here, for example, this one says request to complete information, meaning it's still with the customer. So if you'd like to reassign this application, we can do that from our side as well. So you see we've got an additional button here. And if we click on it, you'll tell us where it's going, and we can then send it. Yes.
Sorry. Hi, guys. You will also have access in the Action Center to reassign. So if the customer does reach out to you, you will see you would have access to reassign as well from your side.
Okay, so that's been added for the team. Okay, great.
As well
so then
as
you'll
the event timeline as well.
Perfect. So then you should see this button. It's only in my test environment that you don't see it. So you should see this as well. So if your customer comes to you and says, I'm not the right person, or I'm on leave, or I've left the company, or whatever the case is, then you can go ahead and reassign it. So if you click on it and say reassign this application, it's no longer going to Dean, it's now going to Bob. You can therefore change the details to Bob and send him a message. Hi, I was dealing with Dean. Dean is on leave. Can you help me? And it will pop him an email, and this will be the email information that they see. Any questions on that? All good. So it just does give you that option. If the customer can't reassign it themselves, we can help them. Okay. If everything looks good, the customer is going to receive a OTP. That's not you, apology. See, lots of people are using the system. And they get a one-time PIN. They put the one-time PIN in, and they can go ahead and submit the application. So what is really nice as well is the customer has the option to view the terms and conditions that they've just signed. So if they click on the Here button, it will show them an overview. It will show them so that this is the person who filled in the information and signed the application. It shows them the content of the information. So here's all the T's and C's that they've just agreed to, as well as any agreements and technical details with regards to the digital signature. So they can go ahead and save this and keep this for themselves. Okay, only if they want to. Obviously, we don't push them to do anything. And now as the customer, I've actually completed my side of things, and what happens in the background, and I'm just going to scroll down, and I know we've been talking about it, so it's not necessarily the full process, but if I have a look and see from initiating, so here is the email that the customer received, to completion, it's taken us 32 minutes. Just so as an idea of how long it can potentially take your customer. I mean, they can go a little bit faster if they're not talking about it, but they can also go a little bit slower. So just as an idea of how long it has taken us from beginning to end. Any questions so far? Does that seem reasonable or unreasonable in terms of what the client is experiencing? Do you find that it is any different to your paper-based applications, or addressing that process of, clients not being able to complete it out of fear of what it looks like versus paper?
I think if I can just speak on behalf of the team, Amy, I think just obviously going through it again and obviously hearing some of the concerns that the team have voiced over the past couple of weeks and months.
Yes.
I think it does take a little bit of guidance, when submitting this link through to the customer. And I think it can be tempting as a salesperson to send the link through and kind of then just wait, where I think the success rate might be quite a bit higher if the sales individual actually has a discussion with the client and says, I've sent the link through. Is it possible for me to kind of give you some guidance around it? Like I said, maybe that video would help.
Video. Yeah.
Even if there was maybe a quick overview of the process on a one-pager that could also be sent in a PDF format to say, this is what to expect, in completing the digital credit application. But I think however it happens, I think that guidance would probably be essential to seeing a lot more success of utilizing the Inoxico system.
Absolutely. And I think also from a sales team perspective, you are that one person that they come back to because they don't know anyone yet. And so they're going to come back to you and say, can you help me? I'm stuck. I don't know what this means. I don't know. I didn't get a link. And so you are that person, which is why we're taking you through this, so that when they say, I got to this document and I don't know what it does, you know what to do, but also that you know that we have a full team that are here to support you. You can send us an email to support to say, my customer is stuck. They didn't get a link. I don't know how to reassign this application. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. It's not leaving you alone in the field. And also, you have the option to do this with your customer. You can, like I said, you can initiate this on your phone, on your tablet. It is mobile friendly. So if you want to do it then and there and then sit with the customer, you're absolutely welcome to do that as well. So there's lots of different options. You can pick up the phone and say, like, I'm sitting here with my customer. We don't know what to do. It's giving us some funny error. Phone us, give us a call, send us an email. You've got Jordan details, and when I'm back, you've got my details, and that's what we're here to do to help you as well. So it's never just a one-stop, this is how it works. I think that we can definitely do an email as well, a video for you as well, to show you this is what to expect and this is what it's asking you. We can definitely do that for you, but there are lots and lots of options to help you and also help your customer. I hope so. I hope that you feel supported as well, which is important.
Excellent. Thank you, Amy. Just want to check from the sales team. Are there any other questions? Does everybody have any other questions, concerns, anything else that they want to mention?
Yeah, if Amy can just show me how to view just my application instead of everybody's.
Sure, I'm going to show that to you in a second. So the last step in the process is it comes back to Inoxico. Inoxico obviously does our research reports. We compile everything and we send it back to Seabourne, which will then go to Sadie. Sadie gets an email that looks like this, and she will then be able to click on the information. She will be able to view the credit application. So here you can see, she can see who's the customer. She can view the full credit application. So everything that this customer has filled in, she will be able to see that. She has all the client questions, all the documents that you have uploaded, she will be able to download. And Claude, this was one of your questions. I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom. With regards to the confirmation and agreements, you can always share this link with the customer to say, here are the terms and conditions that you have signed for. And then you'll see we have this consent link as well. So this can also be shared with the customer to say, hello, Mr. Customer, here are those terms and conditions that you have agreed to. Here was the link to the privacy policy for Seabourne as well as Inoxico. So that is also a link that can be shared with the customer at any time. Consent date and all of it. And that will always live on the application form as well as the Inoxico report. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So now just to go back to what happens now. So obviously, if everything looks good, it will follow your normal process. Sadie will do her process and she will then approve it. If it's of a certain value and it needs to go up to Ruan, or it will always go up to Ruan, she can tell him, you know, this customer has been doing business under a different name, you know, whatever it is that she wants to tell him, so that he gets that email. Okay, and now it should be complete. Why did it not save? I love when my test environment doesn't like me. Maybe I pushed cancel by mistake. Okay, so let's go back to the Action Center. And this is where you would be able to manage your existing applications. So like I said, you'll see there's the two options. You can go to your existing Action Center. So here you'll see we have all applications. So these are the applications that are currently in a process that are not overdue. And if I click on it and I expand it, I can see that this customer is in a legal dispute escalation. This is the name of the customer. And I can click on this event timeline and I can have a look and see absolutely everything that happened on this customer. So I can see from the day I started it. So I was this initiator. And I started it at 9:33 in the morning on the 4th of October, 2021. What happened? It got sent to us to this customer. It also got approved by this person internally. I can have a look and see that this customer started filling in the information. I can see who, if they've changed emails. I can see multiple people received it. I can see that they, you know, each step of the way where my customer got to, and I can see where they stopped. So that's really nice. You can literally stalk your customer as to how often they logged in and what did they fill in at that time up until the date and timestamp. And this is on every single application. Okay, and then right up at the top is where's the latest one. So I can see that it got stuck with this team over here because they are my legal dispute team. There's 3 people in that team and no one did anything. So if I'm going to phone and follow up, I know who to phone or who to email. Or if I'm phoning my customer because I see my customer has gone overdue and I want to see, did they even start filling anything in? Yes or no? And if they did, where did they get stuck? So I can phone and say, hello, Mr. Customer, I saw you got to my freight document and you got stuck. Can I help you? So it's a really nice stalking tool, I think. So you can really have full visibility into where every single application of yours is. You can search by the name of the company. So if you want to see, I know that I did an application for pen. I want to know where it is. I see it's under completed. Is this the person? This is my application. Yes, I would see my name down here at the bottom as well. I would be able to see when it got approved, who approved it, which levels it went to, how long did it take my customer, all that information I would be able to see, and as well as the full application. So I can go ahead and see all the questions that were filled in. I also will receive an email now. That is a new feature to say, once something gets approved, this person down at the bottom is going to receive an email to say, hello, Leon, your application for pen got approved. Okay. So therefore, you just get that notification, which is quite nice. So that's one of the questions, Leon, you were asking for. Can I search specifically? Yes, you absolutely can. You can search for a specific company. If I want to have a look and see what applications are in the system that belong specifically to me, I don't want to see everyone's. I just want to see mine. Up at the top here, there's something called the status report. Okay, it's an Excel report, and I want to see all my applications that I've done in the system from a specific date until today. We want 2022. Sorry, I didn't collect October 1st until 2022, October 27th. I can download this report and I can go ahead and filter on myself. So I go scroll across to the side. I'm going to show you where it might take a few minutes. I can go ahead and scroll and filter on just my name. I just want to see my clients. So you don't have to look at them one by one by one. You can go ahead and look at them all together.
That's correct. Yeah. That function is not available when I log in. I don't have that function.
You don't have the status report?
No.
Okay.
Yes, you will have it now, Leon. So once you log out and log back into the system, I have updated your access and you will be able to see the status report.
Okay, so that will now be showing.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's what that is for, the status report. I just want to see if I can show you what that looks like. Okay, so the first thing you're going to see is a summary page. This just shows you how many applications are in the system, how many of them are completed, cancelled. Don't have to worry about that. If you have a look on the application page, you can therefore go ahead and scroll to the side and say, right, who am I? So that you would be the requester. Everybody's Excel skills are different, but if you add in a filter, you can go and say, okay, I only want to see everything that is from me, and my name is Michelle, and this is what I have. So I can go ahead and see, right, I can see that it got onto the basic credit vetting. These are the two customers that we're dealing with. One got cancelled, one is still in progress. Right, so I can see it's in progress and this one got cancelled. And if it got cancelled, I can see why it got cancelled. What's the reason? It automatically got cancelled due to the customer taking too long to do anything. So I will know that straight away.
Great stuff.
Okay, does that answer the question? So I know that we addressed a few questions right at the beginning, one being the visibility. So I'm hoping that you now see that you have full visibility into every application and where each person is and how to track the timeline. So that's the event timeline. So you can go ahead and see that and use that to say, hi, Mr. Customer, I can see you have not started. Did you not get the link? Is there something I can do to help you? What is the problem? So that's the visibility. With regards to the clients being nervous about filling in the application, like I said, we can put together that link, the video link, so you can send it to them to say, this is coming, please expect this. And or you can do it with them then and there. It is available on your phones, on your tablets. As long as it has internet access, you can access the platform. Okay, so you can choose to do it with them. Again, if you need some help, they need some help, we are here to help you. And then obviously also understanding from your side of things, what are the questions that we are asking so that they know this is, I'm stuck here. What do I do? How do I proceed? Any other questions, any other concerns? Does this seem like something that is going to be possible, something that you like? Can you see how this gives you as a salesperson a lot of empowerment into where your application is versus a piece of paper?
Yes.
Is it something that you would like to use? I know change is hard, technology is hard, but it also means you don't have to worry about, did I leave that piece of paper somewhere or not? Did I leave it on the backseat of my car? Did it get stuck to my other application that I think I put on someone's desk, but now I can't find it? It's missing. This hopefully will help alleviate that as well.
Yeah, sorry, I see Rion's hand is up.
Amy, sorry, I can't see that yet.
No, that's fine. He just put it up now. But just before Rion speaks, I just want to put out a bit of a challenge to the sales team, and I want all of you to, if you have any clients that you've submitted credit applications to in the past month, but you've only submitted a manual credit application to them, I want to challenge you to try the Inoxico route. Now that this is fresh in your mind, and I want to see if you have better results by doing it this way. So let's really try and push it, because I think a lot of the time there's been a bit of apprehension from the sales team as well, because of maybe what they've experienced in the past, or maybe a lack of familiarity with Inoxico. Now that it's fresh in your mind, I really want to challenge all of you. So maybe spend some time this afternoon or tomorrow, and be sending those Inoxico links through to those clients that you're still waiting for the manual credit application to be completed by. You can even pop them a email ahead of time and say, I have handed you the credit application, or mailed you the credit application, but I'm now going to be sending a link. You might find this a bit easier. If you have any troubles or challenges completing this link, please let me know so I can guide you through the process. Sorry, just wanted to chuck that in there.
I think Claude got paused. I don't know if he froze for everyone else or just for me, but I can see everyone else is moving. Just Claude is frozen. Sorry, Claude. Riaan, you had a question. I saw you had your hand was up.
Yeah, I would prefer it if Claude would be unfrozen when I say this. But
Yeah,
I was just wondering. We obviously work with different customers. Some of them understand IT and some of them don't, and that's probably one of the reasons why we do have a lot of manual applications. But what if we can almost have another option for the salesperson to complete the application up to a point?
Yes.
Get all the documentation uploaded, and then reassign it
yes.
to the customer. So then the customer, let's say, then it's probably 75% done or 80% done. Customer
Yes.
can almost like review it, open
Absolutely.
the documents online, and then just do the tick boxes and the POPI Act and all that stuff, and submit it if he's happy.
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering, if you have some
yes.
customers that does it that way, or
Absolutely. So what would happen is, as the salesperson, I could come onto the system if the customer really is technology challenged, let's put it that way. And all they would need to do, all I'd want them to do is the digital signature. I, as the salesperson, can come onto the system. I can search for the company like I would normally do. And in the section where it says who's going to complete the application, they can assign it to themselves. And then they will receive the link. They can go ahead and fill in all the information. And once they get to the signature section, just reassign it back to the customer. And it will ask the customer to therefore tick the consent form box. And they can, so over here, I would then fill in my details. So I would fill in that I am Leon, and I would put in Leon's email address at Seabourne, and it will then receive the email. So, don't know your actual email off by heart, but let's say that is you and your contact details, and then Leon will receive the link, and Leon will be able to fill in that information up until a point. So absolutely an option. That answer that question?
Yes, Thank you.
Okay. Sure, no problem. Even if the customer was assigned the application to begin with and then they got stuck, like I said, you have access to that reassign button, so you can reassign it back to yourself and say, let me help you, Mr. Customer. I can do X, Y, and Z for you, and then send it back to you to sign. Also an option. Okay, great. Any other questions from anyone else? You feel comfortable and confident that this is going to help you get your credit applications in faster and hopefully with more visibility. And like I said, we will pop you an email straight after this with the support mailbox details as well as Jordan's details, as well as my details. And of course, you have your team like Claude and Riaan and Sadie, should you still not manage for whatever reason. Hopefully that will not be the case, but we're here to support you. So let us help you. Okay, now I'll give you back your afternoon to go make sales.
Excellent. Thank you, Amy. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody, for being on. And yeah, looking forward to us really making use of Inoxico a lot better going forward.
Perfect. Absolutely. And then I will send you this recording as well. I know that it's only accessible for a short period of time.